What up, though, people? It's your boy Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid. Man, you're rocking up with the Woodward Pistons podcast on the Woodward Sports Network. Now, look, there's been some changes of brewing at Woodward Sports. It has casted my schedule kind of into something more unpredictable. So Rob was supposed to be on today. This was supposed to be his glorious return back, but because of the schedule shift, we had to push it back another week. So we're gonna see if we can get something special going on for you guys this week as well. I am supposed to be making the return of the Table Talk Thursday, 7 to 8. We will be live. We'll be able to interact with you guys. We'll be able to take questions and kind of get back to some of that banter. If some of you guys are some of the OGs from the Table Talk chats, then you will already understand what the deal is. And I can't wait till we get that going again. But the show must go on. I didn't want to go a week without at least touching bases with you all. The support that you guys bring definitely is something that invigorates and encourages and motivates at least me to continue to make sure that I come before this camera, face you guys, and we talk about it. And I want to talk about a couple different things today. I want to talk about how much different this offense has looked with the ball in Ivey's hands, especially on the precipice of both Monte Morris and Cade Cunningham coming back. Those are two guards, 2 point guards. So I'm going to talk about what should go down with this lineup. The latest article I wrote was on the fact that Jaden Ivey still, whether Cade's coming back or not, he is the guy. This is his team. He is the franchise. But Jaden Ivey needs the ball in his hands, even when Cade Cunningham comes back. And I do believe that Jaden Ivey has been acquitting himself quite well in Cade's absence. Obviously, you want to see this team get a couple wins here and there, and looks like they're going to have the opportunity to pick up some wins. Tonight is a great opportunity for them, man. Against the Hornets, they're going to be shorthanded after the trade, but we're going to get into that, man. I also want to talk about how they've looked with Mike Muscala, Danilo Gallinari in the lineup. I think that those guys have gone 100% from three the last 2 games, and or close to it, on some decent shot attempts as well, decent volume. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing the difference that it makes to the offense and how they look. Push the Bucks to a couple, tough finishes for them, man. They really had to battle, and Giannis had to go into like godlike mode just to battle out the win for the Milwaukee Bucks, who, the news of the day is that they fired Adrian Griffin yesterday. They hired Doc Rivers today. To me, it feels like they're searching for their right chemistry, the right recipe as it relates to the head coach. And it reminds me of when the Pistons, they let go of a coach of their own that was doing pretty well to bring in a Larry Brown, who was kind of the finishing touches to really put them over the edge, that veteran voice, that experienced voice to put them over the edge for a championship caliber run. And my guess is that that's what the Bucks are trying to do too. Giannis wants to win, and if Milwaukee wants to win, you got to think about how this plays into their future with Giannis. If they're not doing the right things there, who knows what he does with his NBA future. But this is the Woodward Pistons podcast, and we definitely got to talk about some stuff here. I wanted to be able to start with, last week we talked about should Troy be around? Should he be the one to kind of spin this cap space? And I wanted this litmus test to be what he did here during the trade deadline, and I believe he's going to get the opportunity to do it, whether we want him to or not, whether we like it or not. I think that he's going to get that opportunity. The organization has kind of spoken out about the fact that they're in this long-term rebuild. They've had some setbacks. They kind of pushed some things back that they were planning on doing simply because they wanted to wait and see how this team performed under Monty Williams. I believe if they had a different coach, it would have been better for the young players early on. Monty Williams has been open and honest about the fact that, he has to do better. There's still stuff that he's learning. And I'm not one of those guys that's like, fire Monty because he's trying to learn something new on the fly, something that he's not necessarily equipped or was wanting to be equipped to really handle. Now, does that, remove him from criticism? No, it doesn't remove him from criticism. And he criticizes himself as well in terms of how he handles this young talent and how he has handled the young talent. But this thing was always about making sure you could craft this team to the coach that you're bringing in. And at first, Troy Weaver was on the task. We talked about last week of bringing in his own coach that would have been better suited for this roster as it currently sits. But you got a Monty Williams who needs a certain caliber and desires a certain caliber of NBA player. And he talked about it soon after the trade of Mike Muscala and Danilo Gallinari, that these are veteran players These are players who have been traded a couple times, so they understand how to kind of join the team, join the roster, and kind of fill their roles quickly without needing to get too much to get up to speed. He did say he was kicking himself, Monty Williams said, for not playing Danilo Gallinari in their first game. He did get to play Muscala. And some of the things I've liked already is the fact that these guys stand at 6'10". Danilo is not necessarily your traditional center. He's kind of like this 3-4 wing, kind of hybrid. But they rebound pretty well. I've seen Mike Muscala actually, defend a little bit in the paint. And this isn't world beater stuff, man. It's not like they're going out there dropping 15 and 10 and getting 3 blocks and whatnot. But as it relates to the little bit of vibrancy that is brought to this Detroit Pistons offense in terms of having people out there that can space the floor. It's not just on Burks and Bojan to be your 3-point shooters, but when those guys have entered the game, in terms of Muscala and Gallinari, we've seen this offense really, really click and not really, slow down at all. Where they do slow down is at the end of games, and that's what they got to figure out. Even when Cade gets back, we know that Cade is clutch. In a couple of the games that they did win this year is because of how clutch Cade was down the stretch, because this team, they've shown that they can hang around. But ultimately, at the end of games, they have had some bad fall aparts, man. Just absolutely looking like young players, which they are. 7 now since Isaiah Livers got traded. 7 players on rookie contract deals. But you still want to see more out of this young team. You want to see that they're moving in the right direction with these late game miscues and mess ups, because it's not like they're just missing shots at the end of games. They're making bad decisions. And that's another thing that that Monty Williams said he has to figure out. He said he's still getting to learn these players and whatnot. And he wants to make sure that he's doing his best to put them in their best possible position to succeed. And obviously, so the one thing I know is this: though the money had to have been a factor for Monty Williams choosing this job, I do believe that just speaking to him, being in some of these press conferences, being at the practices, being at the media availabilities, that his legacy does matter. Winning does matter. Making sure that this town, he said he wants to be remembered in this fabric of Detroit, just like some of the other greats who are not from here, but they came in, did their job, and now they're going to be remembered forever. I got a couple of them up on my wall, man, behind me right now, man. D-Mac, shout out to D-Mac, man, gave me this signed bobblehead. Shout out to Isaiah Thomas, gave me this signed bag. These are guys that are from other places. D-Mac from Canada, a whole nother country. Isaiah Thomas, he's from Chicago, man. We're supposed to be a rival of Detroit's, We got Joe Dumars down here as well on the bottom of these wooden frames, and all this stuff is signed, man. I'm grateful to have had some of the proximity I've had. Even Grant Hill, man, for the little bit of time that he was here, he made an impact. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but we got Jerry Stackhouse over here. This one here, this is just Batman. Everybody got to have Batman. But I also got Jeremy Grant over here as well. And he's another individual who, he was looking forward to coming to Detroit. He was glad he got the opportunity here. And something tells me, based on his PR team, that he wouldn't mind a return here. But that's a whole nother story. But Monty Williams, he wants to win. He's not just here to collect the check. You sign on for a 10-year contract. You know that it's going to be hard-pressed for you to absolutely get fired like that, especially early on. Tom Gore saw you as the best, and because he did, that's his investment. It's going to be hard pressed to get the owner of this team, who ultimately made that decision to push forward with Monty Williams, to say, yeah, let's just fire him. Which means Monty knew what he was getting himself into. Money helps, the perks help, but ultimately he wants to win. He wanted to make sure he can insulate himself and have the time necessary to get to know this team, get to learn this team, and get to winning. Now, there's some things that we've all known. Hey, Jaden Ivey, he needs to be playing. If you're not going to play him in the starting lineup due to whatever fit concerns you may have, he needs to be getting minutes. And early on, that just wasn't happening. And it was one of the most frustrating things ever. All of us in the media were asking, from Keith Langlois, who writes for Pistons.com in the NBA, to Mike Curtis, to James Edwards of The Athletic, Mike Curtis of Detroit News, Omari Sankofa of Detroit Free Press, who am I forgetting? Vinny Goodwill, Yahoo Sports, and myself at Woodward Sports, and also representing our Woodward Pistons brand here. We all asked questions of both Ivey and of Monty Williams about this kind of fit with Ivey. And is he going to play? How much longer are other players going to get in these starting roles like Killian Hayes and whatnot? Now we're at a meeting of the minds where everybody, including Monty Williams, has said, you know what, I'm kind of kicking myself. I feel like a ding-dong. Jaden Ivey's proven some things, and they thought that he needed to learn how to play point guard before just throwing him out there. They thought, hey, let's put him in a better position. But again, it just doesn't really speak to the fact that he wasn't getting the minutes, especially while this team was injured and losing. But I'm not going to cry over spilt milk at this point in time. This team is what it is. And right now, all they can do is try and correct on some of those earlier mistakes, get the right players in here, make the correct deals, put the right players in the lineups, and let them go to work. And that's what they've done in the absence of Cade and before. Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham were already starting to click beforehand, before Cade's injury. And I believe that Cade's injury, you never want to see a player injured. And I don't like the Pistons playing too many games without Cade. But if it provides an opportunity for Ivy to be able to get in there and show something, and Cade gets right back in there after about a week or two, then you know what? So be it. So be it. And one thing interesting that I heard is that Cade has gotten also an opportunity to see just how much this offense clicks with Jaden Ivey in it as well, with the ball in his hands. And it should make everybody more comfortable. Now, one thing I love about Cade is he's a cerebral, smart player. I think he knows that that ball needs to be in Jaden Ivey's hands more than it is right now. And Cade's usage, we got to get that down, man. Like to start the year, he was up as high as 31, 32%. And this is after we heard all about the 0.5-second offense and how this was supposed to reduce Cade's usage on the offensive side of the ball, bring it down to maybe 25, 23%. And then all of a sudden you see his usage right back up into the 30s. I don't think that that's healthy for him. I don't think that that's healthy for the team. And I do not believe that that's conducive to necessarily winning until you have a much better roster. It's different if Cade is just feeling it that night. Then, yeah, you keep going to the hot hand. But with the way defenses are playing him and the lack of shooting that they had previously on the team, because there was a time when even Alec Burks couldn't hit the broad side of a barn, bro. He couldn't throw a rock into the water, into the ocean if he tried at one point in time in this season. Bojan Bogdanovic was gone for a large part of it. And when he got back, it wasn't like he came back just blazing away. Now, we know that those guys are shooting much better now, but it was tough for Cade. And defenses were able to just tee off. They were leaving, and they still are leaving Isaiah Stewart wide open, and they're just shadowing wherever the guard with the ball in his hands is. And so when I look at kind of what's going on right now, we're anticipating the return of Cade Cunningham for this game tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. I am hoping that there is large portions of the game where Jaden Ivey is able to not just relieve Cade Cunningham when he's getting double teamed or when the hedges are coming off of the pick and rolls, where they, hedge the secondary and the tertiary, the third defender up onto Cade's side of the ball. I'm hoping that Jaden Ivey can start some of these offensive possessions with the ball in his hands too. There was a couple plays, and shout out to my guy Jeremy Allen from the Michigan Chronicle. He covers the Pistons for them. And Michigan Chronicle, man, I'm happy to see them covering more sports. I really am. But we were talking about just this kind of very thing with Ivey and how he's able to get downhill in a much more controlled fashion and manner now. He's not just throwing up half hooks or errant layups at the rim. He's not going to the rim and not getting fouled and then complaining. It's almost as if he's learning and understanding and knowing how NBA basketball is going to be called for him right now. He's understanding how and when to apply those breaks when he's getting into the paint. He's understanding when to jump in the air and make the pass rather than jump in the air and get caught. And a couple of Cade's threes that myself and Jeremy Allen kind of noticed, came off of Jaden Ivey facilitation. Getting downhill because it's difficult for defenders to just stay in front of him, especially when he's feeling himself. And he gets into that paint, gets around the rim, kind of ducks underneath it, and finds Cade Cunningham. It was a couple games in a row where he did that several times, man. And Cade was able to knock down the wide open three. And another thing is, it's like that the passes are kind of right in his shooting pocket, man. This is something that I know Cade Cunningham does well, but you look at potential assists, especially from the three-point line when Cade's passing out there and he's struggling. But when you got an Ivey who I love this point about Ivey. The fact that he was able to dive into the paint against the Milwaukee Bucks and one of the few players that was able to finish consistently over the outstretched hands of Lopez. You don't understand, man. We saw our big men getting blocked. We saw Sasser, as good as he played in this last game, getting blocked. But Ivey was able to get downhill, get into the air and use his athleticism, use his body control, and be able to finish. And when you start to couple that type of ability, defenses are going to have to start thinking and second guessing about what they do with Cade Cunningham, especially if they start adding some more motion to their offense, man. If they can start getting Jaden Ivey more in motion, get Asar Thompson more in motion, get their cutters and their athletic guys more in motion, this is going to bode very well when you get back 2-point guards, man. Now, I know a lot of people are wondering about, Monte Morris and what that's going to mean as well. Just a side note for Mr. Killian Hayes. I don't know what to expect on Monte Morris. To start the season, if he was healthy, I would have thought that Killian Hayes was a guy that they liked. And I told some people this behind the scenes. I ain't going to tell their name, but some of them have credentials. I told them, listen, when Marcus Sasser and Monte Morris were brought in, that this did not spell the end of Killian Hayes, that they actually, the coaching staff actually really liked Killian Hayes. And what did it turn out to be? They really like Killian Hayes. And so, I like to be able to report. I like for you guys to know what's going on, what's being said, and what to expect. Why should I get on here and just tell you guys my opinions and then the team is doing something completely different and I'm leaving you guys in the dark? I could tell you my opinion. I think Killian Hayes is a really good backup. Not a really good. Scratch that. I think that Killian Hayes is a decent backup point guard. That's what I think he is. I think that in a pinch, when you need him to go out there and really just kind of pass the ball around, get some assists, play some defense and pinches, and not have to overuse him, I believe that Killian Hayes is decent in that role. I really do. And the coaching staff and the organization, they like Killian Hayes, and that's what's played itself out. And so I don't know what to expect in this. I have to be honest with you. I don't know what to expect. You got two guards coming back. You have Marcus Sasser playing hot right now, and you got Killian Hayes, who they like his defensive ability. They like his ability to pass. But honestly, I think you need more scoring from him. You need more scoring from that position, even if it's coming off the bench. You just need it. And I'm hoping that it's someone more like Marcus Sasser, but he's more of a combo guard. But lately, he's been showing the ability to really facilitate. And I like that from Marcus Sasser. I think that that's the next evolution in his game, so that it's not just so much more pressure to be a scorer and a three-point shooter while you're out there, especially, with his height and such. You want to see him be able to add a little bit more to his game. And with Monte Morris, if his shot's there, he instantly should be the guy getting the minutes over Killian Hayes. Right away. Right away. Right away. Right away. Right off the bench, you talking about when Bojan is trying to facilitate, because he usually plays with that bench unit, when Alec Burks is trying to facilitate, having some players that they could pass it out to. I think it's a little bit better when Burks is trying to drive the lane and he passes it out to the three-point line to Monte Morris than if that was a Killian Hayes. All right. That's just how I feel about it. So I'm hoping, I know that he's been working a lot, Monte Morris, about to get back. At the last shoot around I went to, I posted some videos on Instagram and on Twitter of him. And it's been awesome. It's been awesome to see him kind of working himself back. And he wants this, man. He's from Flint, but he wears Michigan on his chest so proudly, man. He wants this so badly. I've got an opportunity to talk to him at a couple charity events. And I'm telling you, he's not trying to mail this in. He's trying to make sure that he's in lockstep with whatever the medical team is saying, but he wants this. He wants to come out here and show that he belongs. Now, he's definitely a prime trade candidate, but in my mind, with so many contracts expiring, if Monte Morris proves to be a decent vet off the bench, I wouldn't mind finding some way to try and retain him and try and trade some of these other players. But, let me see here. Breaking news, Cade Cunningham, left knee strain, has been downgraded from probable to questionable for tonight's game. So I guess we will see potentially just Monte Morris back, but it's still to be seen about what's going on with Cade Cunningham, if he's going to be back. But with Monte, just before we get back into the aspect of Ivey and Cade and their dynamic, I want to see Monte Morris hit the ground running. Obviously, that's what we all want to see. But at the very least, I just want to see somebody who's a capable three-point shooter, even if he's not shooting with too much volume, but at least just consistency, somebody reliable, and somebody that can get in there and honestly facilitate. So I don't know, man. I'm really hoping. Now with Cade Cunningham, when he comes back, this dynamic, we all wanted to see this fire and ice combo between he and Jaden Ivey. That's what a lot of us were hoping to see, man. A lot of us, that they were going to be able to work together that Ivey was this guy who could definitely work in the ISO when things got clogged up or things got slowed down, and that Cade Cunningham was kind of this settling force when things got too sped up. And so when they get back, I want to see that ball as a point facilitator in Jaden Ivey's hands. I've been saying this season that what this assessment year has brought us, and we've realized this early on in the season, is that Cade needs a smart decision maker next to him. Not just a facilitator, not just somebody who's gonna go out there and pass like a Ricky Rubio type. I mean, he needs somebody that is a smart decision maker, somebody that can put pressure on the defense, somebody that can draw fouls, because these things matter, man. When you start getting that opposing team into the penalty, then all of a sudden you got somebody that can ultimately, when Cade is getting those fouls, it's not just taking the ball out of bounds, but it's sending a pretty good foul shooter to the free throw line. And Jaden Ivey, as of late, he's been getting to the free throw line, and I absolutely love that. It's different for him at the point of attack versus standing in a corner. When you talk about Cade Cunningham off ball, well, he's an individual that shoots better when the ball's not in his hands as the off guard. When you talk about Jaden Ivey, he's a guard that is much more effective when the ball is in his hands. And I know that we all probably, and some of us maybe saw this a little bit differently coming into the season, but as of right now, we see an aspect of Cade Cunningham being a guy that might benefit from the attention that Jaden Ivey can attract. And I'm not saying nothing new to a lot of you guys. A lot of us, this is what we kind of want to see. Let's just see them work. A lot of people keep thinking the fit's not going to work because, well, Jaden Ivey's not a good three-point shooter. No, Jaden Ivey's he's a serviceable three-point shooter. It is three-point shooting is not what's going to determine their fit or not. It's what they do with the ball in their hands, and if his facilitation ultimately can be something that's above average. And I believe that Jaden Ivey is. I know some people talk about their turnovers and whatnot, and I think that players with high usage rates are going to come away sometimes with turnovers. And then you add in the fact that they're young, you add in the fact that they're not necessarily getting the foul calls that they should be getting, and some of those turnovers are due to that type of stuff. And then you gotta be fair. There's some that are just errant, that just should not happen. They always have like a piece, one or two of those a game. Sometimes Cade can get two or three of those a game. Ivey can get one or two of those a game where it just shouldn't happen. And they got to clean that up. They have to. But you're talking about players that are effectively in their second years. Cade, during the second year, played 12 games. I'm going to give them some more time. I'm not an individual. Look, I want them to be winning like yesterday, man. But when I look at the whole overall notion and nature of this team right now and how they've been set up or lack thereof by the front office, I have to be understanding to that, man. And I'm going to continue to be understanding to that. That's just what I'm going to do. And it's been nice seeing Jaden Ivey get his shot and his shine. It's been nice to see Monty Williams come out and say, you know what? We're seeing a young player grow right before our eyes. It's been nice to hear him talk about the fact that Jaden Ivey has grown on the defensive end. He's proven some things. These have all been pretty good developments. And I hope that they bode well and they continue when Cade Cunningham gets back and when Monty Morris gets back and this team is more healthy. Now, with Mike Muscala and Danilo Gallinari, I know that people are some people were worried. I was talking to some people online about it. They're worried that these guys are going to take minutes away from Asar Thompson and Isaiah Stewart. And for me personally, I'm hoping that it doesn't necessarily affect Asar Thompson, especially with the ways that they're talking about trying to utilize him. Now, at the last shoot around, and I should have posted the videos here, man. Look, Thursday when we come to Table Talk, I'm going to make sure I have these videos so you guys can see if you didn't get a chance to see what they're working on. I'm also going to post them as some shorts as well. Asar Thompson working on his mid-range game. The shot, I'm hoping during the summer to get him a more fluid shot and a little bit different stance or base, but he is hitting that a little bit more consistently in his practices than I saw earlier on the season, man. I really hope. I hope that they go and that they ultimately are in a position to where Asar Thompson, when the defense sags off of him, that he's able to kind of take that one dribble in and knock down a couple of those because it'll make the defense more honest. And what I've recognized about Asar Thompson is when he puts the ball on the floor, it's not a lot of people who are able to really stand in front of him. One pump fake and his athleticism and his speed and his ability he's not an elite ball handler, but he's pretty good, though, with that 1-2 dribble. He's really solid with that. When he has to start doing more of all of the crisscross and all of that, that's where things get a little bit more questionable for me, bro. But when he's able to kind of pump fake and be a threat in that mid range, then yeah, I think that you're going to see a little bit more of his offense. And I'm hoping that the Pistons scheme up stuff to get him more into that mid range. Because just the way that he attacks from there is awesome. Another thing I saw at the last open practice was Jalen Duren and some of the bigs. They were practicing their dribble drives from the mid range, and Jalen Duren was able to pick up a couple fouls from there. Side note on Jalen Duren, gotta see his defense get a little bit better. I love Jalen Duren, but I really, more than anything else in his game, more than trying to get a pet move in the post, more than trying to pick up that little 16-footer, more than trying to rebound 25 rebounds a game, I really want to see his defense go to a whole nother level. I want to see a different level of just kind of tenacity, instinct that I know he has. Man, early on in the season, I saw it. And I don't know if at all he's dealing with anything. I don't know if there's some aspect of the level of play overall from the team that's affecting him. But I just want to see him be more a monster on the defensive side of the ball, especially in that paint area, to be something that's feared. When people come to that rim and come to that paint, they're like, we got to think about it. And it's crazy because, Isaiah Stewart in that last game against the Bucks, when you want to talk about the perfect type of game for Isaiah Stewart to play, that was it. That was it. Maybe one less three-pointer, but he was 2 for 5. I can't complain about that. That's 40% from three. He shot well from the floor overall. He had about 17 points, like 8 rebounds. He had like 3 blocks and whatnot. And he played really composed. There was nothing too much out of the ordinary. He had a couple paint possessions where I was just like, yo, that's pretty nice. And he came off the bench. And I thought that was a role that really, really, really fit him, especially when he was playing against some of the guys that were coming off the bench for the Bucks. This is what y'all have heard me say for a long time, that he could be the defensive Tasmanian devil for the Detroit Pistons coming off the bench, similar to how Corliss Williamson was an offensive Tasmanian devil coming off the bench for the 04 Pistons. And obviously, different teams, different eras, different expectations. But I'm just talking one-to-one, basketball player to basketball player, role to role. I really do believe that would fit Isaiah Stewart really, really well. Now, with the floor stretching abilities of Danilo and Muscala's ability to honestly play the center position and defend the center position, you know what? The person whose minutes go bye-bye are James Wiseman's. I don't see how they continue to give him any type of minutes, man. You know what he is already, and if you're actually trying to win games and you talk about valuing the vets, then I do expect Monty Williams to play those guys over someone like somebody like James Wiseman. It will be interesting to see how they handle the Asar Thompson minutes and whatnot. But I do believe that there are minutes that are going to be there for Asar. He plays a different position. He's defending the top players on the wing. We saw him defending Dame Lillard. We saw him defending Giannis Antetokounmpo. We saw him defending Chris Middleton all over the court in these last 2 Bucks games, and that's what his benefit is. I cringe every time I see that they don't play him a lot of minutes. Yeah, I think that he needs to get at least 20 minutes, 22 minutes, 25 minutes a game, and that should be there for him. They're not going to play Danilo and Muscala like crazy minutes, man. I can see those guys getting like 15 minutes a game. And sometimes I feel like their minutes might be a little bit more split between each other too, where one of them is getting like maybe 20 and the other one's getting maybe like 10 or 11 minutes a game. But I like what they bring. And like I told you, man, the frustrating part about it, honestly, is that when you see the effect that they have as floor stretching bigs, it's just like, man, can you imagine if they got a player even slightly better than that? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This team, when we've seen it in advanced stats. We see it in some of these metrics that are coming out right now. Like the Pistons in offensive efficiency have passed the Hornets, and they're on the way to passing some of these other bottom feeders. We heard Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics say the Pistons are not as bad as some of these other teams at the bottom. They got a lot of talent over there. They just hit a rough stretch and dealt with some things. And I truly believe that. Vegas had them at 28.5. The least optimistic and most pessimistic Pistons fans thought that they were a 20-win team. I thought, barring catastrophic injury, if they had catastrophic injury, they're going to win 20 to 25 games. I had them pegged for 30 if they were healthy and all things went right, that they would have 30 and put down that gauntlet for 35 wins and really give yourself a shot towards the last, month of the season, like Orlando Magic did, at potentially, being in a race for the play-in. Not making it, but that's if everything went right, and it just didn't. It just didn't. So ultimately, I want to see Troy Weaver, after you kind of see how some of this stuff has helped your team and Monty Williams, push the go button. It's time to go, man. You're seeing these other teams. Obviously, your contenders are going to be able to make the first moves. They're going to get those top players who are being traded. They're going to do everything they can to sell out because they're not trying to rebuild. They're trying to go win championships. They're trying to go have playoff success. And that's what you see with the Indiana Pacers making the type of move they did for Pascal Siakam, giving up 3 first-round picks. That's what you're going to see. OG Anunoby getting traded to the Knicks. These are the types of deals that you're going to see. This is it. And the Pistons don't have a lot to compete with that, not until they get into the offseason. And so these are these secondary deals that you're going to start looking at. Like there's the rumors about the Pistons being extremely interested in DeJounte Murray. I don't know who they give up, and I don't know how that affects this team overall because DeJounte Murray plays a little bit different brand of basketball than what I'm used to Monty Williams wanting to employ. That's why, to me, a little bit more, I kind of like the Zach LaVine fit, but obviously he comes with the injury baggage and he comes with the money baggage, man. That's just a little bit different than what DeJounte. So it's almost like this pick your poison. Or in this status where the type of player that they acquire could potentially, and it's probably going to be somebody that is overpaid, somebody that doesn't quite fit the system, but somebody that will help them win a few more games. And what you want to see with this Pistons team is really try to avoid being the cellar dwellers and being the worst team in NBA history. At this point in time, it's sad to see this, that's the now, instead of saying, hey, let's see if we can get 30, 35 wins. Now it's, hey, let's see if we can not be horrible. Let's see if we can not make another, batch of history this year. But what I will say is this, man. We see the success that the Detroit Lions are having. And you see all these fans all over time. Oh, I stuck through the thick and thin. Oh, yeah, I was never off the bandwagon, even when we sucked and blah, 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 blah. But with these Pistons, man, I'm talking about a squad that's brought you some championships. I'm talking about a squad that's brought you longevity with some winning seasons, back to back to back. You talk about the sellouts. You talk about the 6 straight trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. You talk about back-to-back finals with the 04-05. You talk about a championship in 04. And we get it. They've been down for about 14, 15 years. But if you guys can stick by the Lions for 30 plus years and have an optimism towards their future, I'm telling you this. I do believe that the Pistons are going to change this tide sooner rather than later. I really do. The one thing I know that the Pistons can do is, like I told you guys in the last pod, is put together these kind of what do you call it? Middling teams that can knock at the 8th to the 10th seed. And the difference with doing that now is that the 8th to the 10th seed, that you making the play-in tournament. And with the young players they have, no matter if they have to trade 2 or 3 of them to try and get in some of these middling to decent tier players, now you're adding them to a better, younger talent base with some vets who also know how to play the game. And so stick with this team, man. That don't mean you don't criticize them. That doesn't mean that you don't update what your perspective might be on them. You see me. When Troy Weaver first came in, I was a trust in Troy truther. Right now, I'm in a, hey, bro, you gotta prove something to me now. You have to absolutely go out there because it's not about how you start, but it's how you finish, man. It's how you finish. You can show up to your classes, you can do good on a couple tests, but if you fail that final, man, your grades drop in the whole 1 or 2 letter grades, man. Period. And that matters. And that's why I said this is about audit. I'm not even waiting for the final to say, well, let's just drop him a letter grade and then give him an overall score. No, if Troy can't do something to bring in the type of players to fit Monty's system and to fit what he wants to do as a coach, and if Monty can't make sure that with the young players he has there, he puts them in the best possible situations to succeed, then this whole restore is a failure. And I have no problem with saying that. And I will write that article. I definitely will. But I think I'm gonna wrap this one up today. I always like jumping on here. I think I'm gonna start doing more of these solos at least 2, 3, 4 times a week. I really want to. Like I said, there's some stuff going on at Woodward right now, and it's been crazy. It's been absolutely crazy. I've I hosted Morning Woodward show this morning. But shout out to my brother Jeff Friday, man. I love him, love him, love him, love him to death. And y'all just keep him in your well wishes as well, man, and support him. And I'll be on the heavyweights today from 5 to 7 as well. Woodward heavyweights, rocking out my homie Easy. Shout out to Spinny. I'm filling in for him today. He's wasn't feeling too good. So gonna be up there again. And Rod, he said I talked to him today. He can't wait to get back on the show. We're gonna try and figure out a better time, just depending on what happens with my schedule moving forward. But hopefully the Pistons get this dub tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Obviously, I would have felt much better if Cade is playing. But again, just to leave you guys with it, he has been downgraded from probable to questionable for tonight's game. But I want to hear you guys' comments. Put it in the chat. Put it in the actual comment section too, man. How you guys want to see Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham mesh? How you want to see Monty Williams try and go out there and utilize them? And I also want to know, have you guys seen the improvement in Jaden Ivey's defense as well? As do you see the improvement in Monty Williams as a coach? I did get to ask him in this last shoot around that I went to in practice. I'm sorry. About, do you feel like you're starting to hit your stride with managing some of these players and putting them in their best possible positions to succeed? And he was just blunt. He was like, nah, saying I'm hitting my stride would be giving me too much credit. I still got a lot of work to do. I still have to learn more. I still have to scheme better. And we got to win some games. And so I can be that sounds and feels better from the head coach than if he just kind of BS'd it or gave some type of I'm the coach and these players aren't it. But instead, he's continued to face the media. You just want to see the guy make the improvements, though. You do. You just want to see him make the improvements. So I appreciate you guys for tapping in. I really do. It's been a lot going on behind the scenes, from moving to living in a hotel for a little bit because our house sold a little bit faster than our new house was ready. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy, man. My kids running around like, we're homeless. I'm like, we're not homeless. And then you just think about it for a minute, like, dang, to the baby and all that. And the accident feels so long ago now. So long ago now. It just, but the one thing I do know, I'm a believer in God and Jesus, and that I know God got me. And this platform has been one that through it all, I've tried to remain and maintain as much consistency as possible, man, to be able to talk this Pistons stuff. I think that it's important. And another thing, your boy got invited to the NBA All-Star game by the Detroit Pistons. I'm just waiting on official word from the NBA. They actually hit me up and like, hey, bro, make sure you get your official credential request in from the NBA. So it's looking like I might be there. And I'm really, really, really looking to cover any Piston that's there. It's not going to be at the All-Star. If we get a Piston a player or two there, it's going to be at the Rising Stars Challenge, and it'll probably be either or Asar and or Marcus Sasser. It would be nice. I don't, if those guys went down there, to be able to get some more insight directly from them, and we'll probably have some of our players. Like I could see Cade, I could see Ivy, I could see Duren, just around those festivities. And if they are, I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to get some insight from them, ask them how they're feeling. The one thing I do know is that they went on a pretty nice run during Cade's rookie season. After All-Star break, they had a 10-14 stretch in games that Cade, Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey, and Marvin Bagley played in. And what I'm hoping is that moving forward, that these guys are going to be able to hit their stride as they're getting more healthy, as they're getting some vets back and whatnot. So I do want to know this. Let me know your optimism for the rest of this season. I'm not talking about Troy Weaver or anything. I'm just saying we're getting healthy. Monty Williams is saying he's really going to be leaning on guys like Jaden Ivey. He's going to put the ball in his hands. We got a couple more vets in here, and they're talking about making some more moves. What is your optimism for the rest of the season? Obviously, it ain't going to be nothing, no crazy big turnaround. But can you see something similar to what they did during Cade's rookie season, where they actually put together something that shows that this thing is at least back on the tracks? Because right now they're completely derailed and off the tracks, man. Like I told you, just short of disgusting. The D is for Detroit, not for disgusting. So, no hat on backwards today. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in. I hope that you can hit the like button, subscribe. If you're not already, share this if you can. Like I said, I do this as a labor of love from the bottom of my heart. And yeah, I appreciate you guys a lot. I do. Blessings on you all. And shout out to Rod. Shout out to Jeff. And hopefully this Thursday, me and Mr. Sean Murphy from Half Court, he was at the last Pistons game with me against the Bucks. in media. And it was good to see him again, man. Really good to see him again. We should be running it back this Thursday live with the table talk. So definitely, man. Shout out to y'all. But I'm gonna get out of here now, man. So thank you for tapping into the Woodward Pistons podcast on the Woodward Sports Network. My name is Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, and it's been fun rocking out with you guys, man. All right. Till next time, y'all.